But it is a great opportunity to talk to you from the university's perspective, and I think that I'll most change direction a little bit. I think I've had a great lead in from Trent. I really enjoyed your talk, Trent. I think that the conversation around a necessity to think more about impact, to think about having an agile and responsive and university sector and ecosystem around innovation is critical, but also that it's really, innovation is not a word, it's a culture, and I think that's a really important point to take home. And Keith and John, I think that you've spoken as well beautifully to the university sector, great examples, and I can actually just build on that now, because what I wanted to actually just bring to the audience is, from a regional perspective, how critical defence is in our economic growth. And I'm just going to, I was asked to, I guess, give you an example of what we've been doing at Newcastle. For those of you who don't know the University of Newcastle, I know there are some international people. We sit about 2 hours north of Sydney. We're a large and growing university, 40,000 students. We sit in the top 250 universities in the world, and we're ranked around about 9, depending on whose VC metric you have. We're a successful university, but like all universities, we've had to change our focus recently, and I'm just going to work out how to, there we go. I wanted to just give you a little bit of context, and I am mindful of time, so I'll talk fast. Just to say that university, the changing sector, we've had significant investment from the federal government, from state government. We've had $10 billion, if you think, if you look at 2015 and 16. Now, that's gone into organisations like CSIRO, it's come into the DST Group, it's come into ARC, NHMRC, major funding organisations. Tax measures have been put into business in the hope of stimulating that engagement between industry, universities, and seeing that innovation and impact. And unfortunately, I think the outcome, what do you point? There we go, is not what we would like to see. If you look at collaboration now between universities and researchers at institutions and centres, we as a country in the OECD are the lowest performing. So as you can see, whether it's large firms or SMEs, compared to the OECD average, Australia is performing poorly. In response to that, I think federal, state governments have been swift in trying to encourage, there it goes, ways, I think, to start to drive that innovation and improve, I guess, impact, and trying to encourage better outcomes and engagement with industry. And some of those strategies I'm sure you're all aware of, which is the NISA, the National Innovation and Science Agenda. There was the Innovation and Science Australia, Medical Research Futures Fund, Industry Growth Centres, Global Engagement Platform, and Impact and Engagement Measures. Obviously don't have time to go through all of those, but as a package, what they're all intended to do is to look at the end user, look at the impact, and make sure that publicly spent money is actually producing the outcomes that are desired, that we're engaging with industry, we're producing impact, we're having outcomes, and we're seeing commercialisation. And that I think the point by John or Trent, I think it was Trent, is that we are creating a product that's exportable, that we're not just staying local and focused. Oops, it's gone ahead. University of Newcastle's response, I'm not going to focus too much on the university per se, but generally our strategy is that we had a stronger commitment to looking at our global, our regional impact, and predominantly through looking at how we support innovation and drive that through increasing engagement between business and innovation. We want to be key contributors to our region, so the Hunter region, through really strong, effective partnerships, and see that through increased partnerships with industry and funding from multinationals and SMEs. So I wanted to take now, the case in point is defence. What are we doing in terms of defence? Defence has been something that the Hunter as a region has participated strongly in, given our history, and as a university we've had strong partnerships. But I would have said now, I've been in the role and working with defence most probably for about the last 5 years. It's taken time to, I think, see us develop a coordinated strategy, and that triangulation between industry, defence and the university is really critical to deliver those outcomes. I think in the past what we would have seen, just universities having, I think, and Keith and John talked a little bit about that in the earlier days. You know, engagement with defence would generally be through you met up with somebody, you heard about a project or a problem or an issue, and a researcher most probably came to the party. You know, but now we do have formalised structures. DSTG is critical to how we engage with defence as well. And we're having structures, I think, developed that are really facilitating that engagement better. But I would say they still need a lot of work. And that's from industry side of that, university side of that, and defence side of that. We've got a lot of work together to triangulate better to get better outcomes. So looking at the hunter, and this is what I was asked to speak to, is talk about how defence, what is the value proposition? We heard a lot about that yesterday, and for our perspective as a university, we also had to think, you know, investing in defence, what is the value proposition for us as a university? Defence is linked to economic prosperity, we know that. In the hunter, we know that defence is critical to us. Investing in science, technology and innovation, it drives our economy. It creates jobs. It creates a regional, or builds a regional capability for defence, and it delivers impact through commercialisation of innovation. We know that if you leverage off research into business productivity, you get approximately a return of 60 to 1. For a university, that represents a minimum regional impact of $6 billion annually. So defence matters for us as a regional imperative. But the paradox is really interesting as you reflect on innovation as a concept, as a culture, as it's globalised. It's interesting if you think about it, is that it's the regions that have become the critical nexus for that innovation-based economic growth. National, state policies, federal policies, they all play a role. But the locus of innovation and is driven by the activities at the local level. That's where, at the regional level, you get workers, you get companies, you get universities, research institutions and governments that are interfacing in a direct, ongoing basis. So that regional nexus, that regional focus is so critical as it networks into state, local government, and then forward into federal government. If you look at New South Wales defence, I don't need to know, you all know this. This is taken from the annual report from New South Wales Defence and the newly released defence strategy. As in New South Wales, we play a very large part in the regional economy. As you can see, New South Wales being the largest. What's interesting as we go forward, when we look at regional employment, and I'll just cast your eye down to the second from the top, which is obviously the Hunter Valley and Newcastle, and you can see that we sit as employers in defence and defence-related industries quite high on that graph. So we have a large workforce, but as all of you are well aware, we have a rapidly growing need in the Hunter as we work to support the JSF initiative, and that is certainly putting pressure on us as an institution and as a region through our industry to be able to support that capability. Okay, so just for those that don't know, we have a very strong history of engagement with defence. We have, whether it's land, whether it's sea, whether it's air, we have the Williamtown base, the RAF base at Williamtown, we have Lone Pine Barracks, Saltash Air Weapons Range, and our industry presence is very strong in terms of having some of those big primes. We've got BAE, we've got Lockheed Martin, obviously sitting out with Thales, Bohemia, Raytheon, all the names up there that you can see. 200 plus Hunter entities operate through the Hunter Defence Network, to support Hunter Defence. And our annual defence spend is really quite significant and is only going to grow, and that growth is considered to be rapid and the demand is very strong. So how, in a sense, do we get institutions, business, industry, NGOs, how do we all collaborate? How do we bring us all together to actually be able to, as Trent said, be exportable, be globally competitive, whilst also servicing our local needs? Again, bringing this back down to how we've worked as a university in Newcastle in our regional network, this is what I wanted to just illustrate, is what we found to be important ways for us to facilitate that engagement. And some of the key enablers of regional development are that we make sure that we have those industry-facing multidisciplinary frameworks in place. The way that the university's done that is by having what are called global impact clusters. I'll mention them in a little while. We need to have an innovation ecosystem. That's not just having people who do innovation, that is a culture of innovation within a region. It's not good enough to just have innovation as a word. I like the way Trent phrased that. I'll speak to our integrated innovation network. The other things I think that's important to remember in the university conversation, and Keith and John have touched on that, is key to being able to work to provide defence with capability is providing with the pipeline. You need the workforce, whether it be the workforce that's going to go out and work in industry, or whether it's those workforce that are coming through the defence, land, air, sea, wherever. We need to be able to provide you with the training and background for those people to progress through their careers. We do that through what's called an engaged PhD model, which is making graduates have their work ready and they have transferable skills. We have what are called doctoral engagement nodes. These are, where you bring together a bunch of PhD students, master's students, industry, put them all together, and that colliding creates innovation, creates excitement, creates a fantastic work environment, which makes the students, much more excited to go out and work in the relevant industries. And we create, I think, what's important, precincts, which is again about colliding, bringing and triangulating industry, defence, and the universities together. Mindful of morning tea. So I'll be very quick. Industry-facing multidisciplinary frameworks. We have what are called global impact clusters, and these are externally faced networks that really are based on our strong expertise in the university, and they work cross faculties. And they're about research excellence and bringing academics internationally together to work with industry. Try to go quickly, just a quick model of that. So one example we have, and I don't think everyone's used it up, is Newcastle Institute for Energy and Resources. So in this graphic, what you can see is just that it's really bringing together across the institution and internationally is things like IP, now it's going to jump forward. It's now on a mind of its own, but anyway, it's on the floor, that's why. Okay. What it just brings together is all the structures within the institution in the light green. So PRCs are priority research centres, there are faculty centres, there are hubs of innovation hubs, and then around the outside are the more externally facing structures, and allows us to engage with business, our partner universities, government, community, and our commercialisation arm. The benefits for this, obviously, for our academics, sort of the engagement opportunities, industry programs, international engagement. You can see all of those strategies around the circle, and just to say as well, moving forward, industry facing, obviously the opportunity is to interface with the university. I think the pathway into the institution is the important one. I think if industry has had one complaint that I've steadily heard over the years is which door do we knock on, and we need to actually improve that. So quickly, supporting innovation. This has been a big initiative of the institution, and we've been building a community of innovators, and that's about giving, and I think encouraging, as Trent talked to, encouraging risk, encouraging innovation, and building entrepreneurial skills into our students, and bringing industry and the university closer together to actually take innovation to the commercialisation space. So we had some great funding from the New South Wales State Government, boosting business innovation, which has created our integrated innovation network, and you can see we've got innovation hubs up at Muswellbrook, in Newcastle, in Charlestown and Williamtown. Basically what these hubs or innovation hubs do is actually allow the collision of students, researchers, industry to come together. We give them legal advice, we give them IP advice, we give them mentoring, we give them the coaching. We bring industry in and support them in how to apply for grants like the CRCPs. Coaching and opportunities for industry are really, really critical, as industry haven't had these opportunities available to them before and they're relatively new and novel. Just the 376, I'll just quickly dash through these as I want to. They're basically the hubs that we have. They're open spaces. We provide cheap working space for new innovators, new startups. Once they've, become fledglings, we kick them out of the nest and they go find some accommodation elsewhere, but we support them through that startup phase. Upper Hunter is more focused on agribusiness and precision agriculture. But the one I was going to just touch on today, which is the DSA 18 hub, which is our newest Williamtown hub, which we're really excited about. Some of you may be coming to our opening on November the 1st. And it's all about, DSA stands for Defence, Security and Aerospace, and it's about, again, at Williamtown, we've done a lot of work out, obviously, with the RAF out there. And it's a challenge often for universities to go on to base. So for us, it was imperative that we created a safe and secure space that Defence could bring their personnel out to work with us and engage with us. The beauty of this space that we've built, I'm trying to get it forward, is it also sits in an industry precinct, which we co-locate with Boeing, Lockheed Martin, BAE, Thales, Forjax. So we've got these guys sitting on our doorstep. So every day, we're walking across the car park, we're running into one another. 4 o'clock is drinks in the upstairs of BAE's building. This is what you need to actually create that innovation ecosystem. You need the opportunity to talk to one another because universities still have those closed walls to some extent. They're much more permeable than they were, but actually these sorts of opportunities, a precinct is what enables people to come together to actually work on the problems that Defence are bringing to us and that we, industry, universities can work together to actually establish strategies to resolve those issues. So it's offering innovation, co-location spaces, professional development. Now we do this for industry and Defence. One of the things that we've done is with the STG in particular is offer to have co-funded positions within the institution. Some of them want to upgrade, want to do PhDs, some want to do masters. We offer that as a way of, bringing us closer together in the working environment. We have fostering innovation, commercialisation and partnerships is what we're all about through the Innovation Hub. Program of works, obviously to focus on the New South Wales Defence priorities and those that are going to build and build capacity into the Hunter region. As I talked about, obviously we have the role in the F-35 sustainment, which is we have to provide support for in terms of capability and also a workforce that's critically required. I think I'm almost at my last couple of slides. So we do have a Defence Advisory Group, and again, that's been another critical thing for us to establish. We've run it out in the past. It's been run out of the DVCR's office, or the university's had an industry group that's run the engagement. But it needs to be somewhere where we bring together the end users. So in this Defence Advisory Group, we focus on what we had conversations about yesterday is identifying the gaps and identifying the opportunities. And the way we do that is to bring the end users. So we do have Defence, we have state and local government, we have industry all around the table with the university. And that has been a fantastic way for us over the last year to really focus on, we go for next generation funds. What do we need to do as the Hunter region? What can we focus on? Where have we got the capability? And this group are fundamental to be able to help drive that. I think this is my last slide, is just to say that, as I've said, precincts are really about regional connectivity. It's about bringing the region together. It's about focusing on research with industry and business, lots of marketing channels, working on the workforce pipelines, which is for those PhD students. Actually, I forgot I did put a couple more slides in. Am I going to get pulled off yet? Just quickly to say that what's really critical, if you just flick 3, that'd be great. 4, 5, 6, do them all at once, great. Back to the one you did. Awesome. A connected region is what we've talked about. Really what you have is the public, the private, the higher education sector all working together to enable and have policies that support smart innovation and growth. Analysis of evidence, building infrastructure for growth, skill development, personnel, it's critical. We go to the next page and do them all again. Yeah. The disconnected region is what we often see. That is when we have a university sector that is in the region but is not of the region. The university needs to be part of a region for that accelerated regional growth. And we need to have the public and private sector with no boundary spanners. We need to have a focus on not just transactional occurrences, not just, we need to have a shared understanding, and we need to have effective and supported partnerships. And I think the last one might be my slide. And this is the last slide, is just to say, to do that, to transition from an undisconnected to a connected region, it's just about having, a capacity, a generative capacity, absorptive capacity, collaborative capacity, and leadership capacity. It doesn't take much, but if you don't have your eye on the ball and if you actually don't see how important it is to bring all those structures together, we can't drive the regional economy, we can't drive the national economy. So I'm sorry that was fast, but I think I got through. So I think that's my last slide. So thanks very much.